am Mehak Chawla, Bharatanatyam dancer, art educator and disciple of Guru Srimati Geeta Chandranji. Today we are going to study about branches of art. In this we are going to study in detail, in depth about decorative art. So decorative art is one of the oldest and most fundamental branches of artistic expression. It refers to the beautification and artistic enhancement of objects and surroundings that serve a functional purpose. Unlike fine arts such as painting or sculpture, which exist primarily for aesthetic appreciation or expression, decorative art combines utility with beauty. It emerges from the human instinct to live in an environment that is not only comfortable but also pleasing to the senses. Since prehistoric times, human beings have decorated the tools, utensils, dwellings and spaces they inhabited, turning necessity into a canvas for creativity. This desire to add beauty to the useful is what gave rise to decorative art, a practice that continues to define the character of a built and material world. Decorative art can be understood as the artistic mastering of the human environment, the art that deals with man-made surroundings such as buildings, interiors, household objects and personal adornments. It may be expressed through architectural ornamentation, furniture design, textile patterns, jewelry, metalwork, pottery, glassware, or even the small details of daily life like a carved door handle, a patterned window pane, or a painted lamp. All these objects, though serving practical purposes, become carriers of aesthetic values through careful design and decoration. The aim of decorative art is not to create purely visual pleasure, but to bring beauty into everyday life so that art becomes a natural part of human living rather than something distant or abstract. The essence of decorative art lies in the balance between functionality and ornamentation. Every object that serves a purpose can also serve the eye, provided the artist maintain harmony between design and use. A well-decorated chair should remain comfortable to sit on. A beautifully painted pot should retain its ability to hold water, and a richly carved door should still open smoothly. Thus, decorative art requires a special sensitivity, the ability to enhance beauty without overwhelming the form. The principle of restraint is vital. True decoration enriches an object subtly, adding grace and refinement rather than excess. Over decoration, on the other hand, destroys proportion and harmony. The aesthetic taste of a person, a community, or a civilization is often reflected in how tastefully it decorates its surroundings. The scope of decorative art is vast. It includes architecture, furniture, textiles, pottery, jewelry, metalwork, glass, and interior decoration. Within architecture, Decorative art appears in the form of carved facades, painted ceilings, moldings, cornices, and ornamental pillars. In interiors, it is seen in the choice of furniture, upholstery, floor coverings, wall hangings, lighting, and even color schemes in textiles. It expresses itself through weaving, embroidery, dyeing, and printing. In metalwork and ceramics, it takes the form of engraving, embossing, enameling, or glazing. The diversity of materials and techniques used in decorative arts is a reflection of human ingenuity. Artists employ wood, metal, clay, glass, stone, ivory, textiles, and even precious stones to transform utility into art. The artist of decorative art possesses both technical skill and artistic imagination. He or she must understand not only the properties of the material but also the principles of design and color. For instance, working with wood demands knowledge of grain and texture, while metal requires an understanding of melting points, durability, and finishing. Similarly, the decorator must have a keen sense of proportion, rhythm, and harmony. The arrangement of forms, the repetition of motifs, the blending of colors, and the distribution of light and shadow must all contribute to a unified aesthetic experience. The finishing touches, polishing, varnishing, carving, or painting requires dexterity and an eye of detail. To decorate something beautifully is not merely to adorn it, but to transform it with taste, precision, and feeling. Decorative art has always been closely related to painting and sculpture, borrowing principles and techniques from both. Painting contributes to the art of decoration through its mastery of color, pattern, and composition, while sculpture influences decorative art through its understanding of form, relief, and three-dimensional design. For example, the murals on temple walls or the painted ceilings of palaces demonstrate how painting enhances architectural decoration, while the carved pillars and ornamented facades show how sculptural techniques contribute to architectural splendor. Thus, decorative art forms a bridge between fine art and applied art, combining creativity with craftsmanship. Throughout history, decorative art has served multiple social, symbolic, and emotional functions. Socially, it reflects the taste, wealth, and cultural sophistication of individuals and communities. The design of a palace, a temple, or even a household object reveals the social hierarchy and aesthetic preferences of its time. Emotionally, decorative art enriches human experience by creating spaces and objects that inspire joy, peace, and harmony. A well decorated environment uplifts the spirit and nourishes the mind. The principles of decorative art are grounded in universal laws of beauty. The most important among these are harmony, proportion, rhythm, balance, and unity. Harmony ensures that all parts of design complement each other. Proportion relates to the proper relationship between parts and the whole, ensuring that nothing appears exaggerated or diminished, whereas rhythm arises from repetition and variation. A recurring motif or color scheme creates movement and coherence. Balance provides stability, preventing the design from appearing too heavy on one side. Finally, unity integrates all these principles so that decoration feels natural and complete rather than fragmented. Above all, simplicity remains the hallmark of refined decorative art. It suggests elegance, restraint, and clarity. The materials and techniques used in decorative art are as diverse as human culture itself. In ancient time, artisans used naturally available materials such as clay, wood, metal, and stone. With the advancement of civilization, they began to use precious materials like ivory, gold, and gemstones. Each material inspired a unique form of decorative expression. Wood encouraged carving and inlay. Metal led to casting, engraving, and embossing. Stone inspired relief, sculpture, and inlay work, while clay and glass gave rise to pottery, tiles, and mosaics. Techniques such as enameling, gilding, painting, polishing, weaving, dyeing, and etching were developed over centuries, often perfected by generations of skilled craftsmen. Decorative art, therefore, represents the combined effort of individual creativity and collective tradition. In terms of historical evolution, every civilization has expressed its identity through distinctive decorative styles. In ancient Egypt, decoration was deeply symbolic, using motifs like the lotus, scarab, and sun disk to represent life and rebirth. The Greeks and Romans empathized proportion and symmetry, adorning their architecture and poetry with geometric and natural motifs. Islamic art avoided figural imagery and instead developed intricate floral, arabesque, and calligraphic patterns that symbolized divine unity. In European medieval art, church interiors were richly decorated with stained glass, mosaics, and illuminated manuscripts, reflecting the spiritual grandeur of the period. The Renaissance revived classical ideals of balance and realism, while later movements such as Baroque, Rococo, Art Nouveau, and Art Deco introduced new sensibilities to opulence, elegance, and modern abstractions in decoration. India, in particular, possesses one of the richest and most continuous traditions of decorative art in the world. Every region and community has developed its own vocabulary of design, material, and technique. In architecture, the intricate carvings of temples in Khajuraho, the marble inlay of the Taj Mahal, and the painted ceilings of Rajasthan demonstrate India's mastery in merging structure and decoration. In textiles, traditions like Banarsi, brocade, kalamkari, phulkari, and bandhani revealed both artistic creativity and cultural symbolism. In metalwork and black and silver bidriware of Hyderabad, the bell metal utensils of Bastar, and the Dhokra lost wax sculptures exemplify regional diversity. Indian pottery, from the terracotta horses of Bankura to Jaipur's blue pottery, combines simplicity of form with richness of ornament. Jewelry art such as Meenakari, Kundan, or filigree represents both technical brilliance and aesthetic delicacy. Even domestic art forms like Rangoli, Alpana, and Kolam bring decorative beauty into everyday life, connecting art with ritual and spirituality. Decorative art represents the creative spirit of humanity expressed through everyday life. It is the art of living beautifully, of transforming ordinary surroundings into expressions of order, grace, and imagination. It is an art that speaks not through words or narratives, but through form, texture, and color. By blending craftsmanship with creativity, tradition with innovation, and utility with beauty, decorative art continues to remind us that art is not confined to galleries or museums. It lives in our homes, our temples, our garments, and our public spaces. It is above all the artistic dialogue between human need and human imagination, celebrating the enduring truth that beauty is not an addition to life but an essential part of it. Further, the lecture focuses on one of the richest and most enduring aspects of India's cultural heritage, the decorative arts of India. When we speak of Indian art, we often think of painting, sculpture, or architecture. But equally significant is the art that lives within our homes, temples, palaces, and even our daily lives. The Indian decorative tradition is not separate from life. It is interwoven into the very fabric of living. From the carved temple pillars of Khajuraho to the embroidered Phulkari shawls of Punjab, from the blue pottery of Jaipur to the silver bidriware of Hyderabad, every region, every period, and every community of India has contributed its own language of ornamentation. Decorative art in India has always been more than just ornament. It is a symbolic expression of belief, order, and beauty. It transforms the useful into the beautiful, merging utility with spirituality. In India, art was never seen as a luxury of the elite. It was a collective aesthetic consciousness shared by both the artisans and the devotee, the ruler and the villager, the temple sculptor and the homemaker. To understand India's decorative art, we must therefore look at it not only as a visual tradition but as a living philosophy, one that sees beauty as sacred and creativity as worship. Let us begin at the very beginning. The roots of Indian decorative art go back to prehistoric era when early humans decorated cave walls, pottery and even their own bodies with patterns and pigments. In sites such as Bhimbetka in Madhya Pradesh, we find some of the earliest visual expressions of rhythm and repetition. Essential foundations of decoration, the cave paintings of Bhimbetka are not merely drawings of animals and hunts. They demonstrate an early sense of pattern, balance, and symbolic arrangement. The human urge to beautify one's surroundings was already evident. Moving forward to the Indus Valley civilization, we see fully developed decorative sensibilities. The people of Harappa and Mohenjo-daro produced terracotta figurines, painted pottery, jewelry of gold, silver and semi-precious stones, and seals engraved with animals and symbols. Their pottery often featured rhythmic geometric designs, circles, waves, and fish motifs painted in black on red clay. Jewelry and beadwork show remarkable craftsmanship, and shell inlays found in household items suggest that even utilitarian objects were made beautiful. Thus, in the Indus period, we find the earliest union of function, material, and decoration that defines Indian art. If I speak of the Vedic period, it brought about a shift in thought and expression. Art was now guided by spiritual and symbolism. Decoration became an expression of cosmic order or Ritu, the principle of harmony in the universe. The lotus, wheel, and swastik emerged as sacred motifs later to appear throughout Indian decorative traditions. During the Mauryan period, the art of polish, proportion, and refinement reached new heights. The Ashokan pillars, for example, are not only symbols of imperial power but also of decorative mastery. Their polished stone surface, graceful bell-shaped capitals, and the beautifully carved lions and lotuses represent both artistic skill and philosophical symbolism. The use of stone polishing, inlay work, and relief carving in this era marks the beginning of what would become India's hallmark, decoration that is meaningful and refined, never excessive. By the time of the Gupta dynasty, India's decorative art entered its classical age, often described as the golden age of Indian art. The Gupta period saw the perfect balance between sculpture, structure, and the ornament. Temples, sculptures, textiles, and coins of this time exhibit elegance and serenity. With this, I conclude my lecture. Thank you.